Is that the mood I'm picking up on? All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody. As you can see, I am flying solo on facilitation this evening. We have pretty quick agenda for this evening, so that should hopefully help and kind of get everybody on with their evening. I have one minor update to the SAC recommendation, which will be going to the board next week. The next item that we had is basically to sort of review the UIP simplification process that we want to share with the board. Give you a quick recruitment update and then wrap it up. Given who's on the call, I do hope everybody feels very comfortable sharing their opinions and kind of giving feedback. So again, the more participation, like the easier this whole process is going to be. Also, given sort of the numbers and dynamics for tonight, we are not going to do any sort of breakouts. We just don't sort of have staffing or time. So ready? Here we go. Real quick. I think you guys will remember from our last, or was it 2 meetings ago, where we went through the recommendations for the SAC initiative work, and sort of based on that feedback, really only made one language change to the recommendation language. So the highlighted green section is what was changed, just sort of to clarify. Are you guys seeing this?
I can't see your screen.
No. Oh, I've just been chatting away thinking you guys can see my screen. I apologize. There we go. Laura, thank you for the good nonverbal. Appreciate it. I apologize. Can we see it now? Okay, great. Thank you. So made one sort of minor change in the green highlighted section for the sort of the flexibility, just making really evident that the flexibility is, you know, still within the expectations of the school accountability work. So that was really just, I think, more of a clarification. And I'm going to give this moment. Is there anything else, and especially like Jessica, I know you weren't able to participate with us that meeting. Are there any other questions you guys have or things that you want to review related to the SAC initiative before it goes to the board next week? Nobody really, you know, is dying to run through the presentation again, just for fun. Great. Okay. All right. So feeling like that's a good check, good change. Okay, fantastic. The next thing, and this is a little bit more challenging, especially because everybody else, save Dave, who is really kind of super in the weeds on the UIP simplification work, is not here tonight. So with that, I think it actually is in some ways even more helpful and more important if you guys have questions about the process or sort of what this might mean. So I'm just real quickly going to go through the UIP simplification work that we went through over the course of this year. And this is what we plan on sharing with the board. So as we go through this, if you have suggestions or sort of like clarification, please stop me and ask questions along the way, because quite frankly, we're doing this next Wednesday. And so I would love to like kind of make notes along the way, because we've got a fairly quick turnaround on this one. So we're starting with the board charge. So this is that sort of work memo process that we talked about. You know, what is it that the board wants from us, from the DAC? What are you guys looking for? And so really kind of connected it to the stakeholders and their understanding, and also really kind of connecting it to the Board of Ed core beliefs. So this is really what sort of kicked off that simplification process. This is, believe it or not, I think our process since December. We did an overview with the whole DAC and sort of shared the charge with the whole membership and had our board liaisons share that information. Developed the work outline or memo. Had a meeting with district staff to kind of clarify work and lanes, identify questions, get some information. Did another round of whole DAC discussion and brainstorming, then broke into a small group subcommittee, which met, I would say, probably about 15 hours of meetings this spring. It was not insignificant. And through all of that work, really kind of settled on some themes that really presented themselves through that discussion and through that investigation. Then basically engaged in a mid-project check with the board liaisons about where we were with the charge, and really kind of follows our outline of our process. And then what we're presenting here is that summary and recommendations for next steps. So that's really the process that we've been through since December. Poof, and there it went. Big ideas that really emerged across all of the work is issues related to access, delivery, process, audiences, terminology, and engagement. And so what follows on these slides is the detail of each of those themes with some examples. So the first sort of set of information and the way that these themes are organized is a bit of data or observation from somewhere along the process of the 2021 school year. And then on the right-hand side is some guiding questions that might inform the work. So big ideas around access, communication of sort of role and purpose, and really getting more at this fundamental question about ways that can provide easier access to the community. And again, really grounded in the charge, right? Like that was sort of the point. Lots of discussion about delivery in terms of the format, discussion about what additional media supports or needs might emerge. Being able to provide some scaffolds in terms of opportunities for folks to dig deeper, understand the component parts. Definitely, there was some concern about accessibility for language, and really just wanting to get more information about how this document should be delivered in a way that sort of produces the kind of engagement that we were hoping for, and sort of grounded the board's charge. Process was a big one. Really getting clear about definitions, timelines, and participants in terms of who's involved, makes decisions, asks questions, and then really seeing the process as a lever for engagement. And then this is a nice intersect, I think, with the school accountability committee initiative, is what's that relationship of the district UIP to the school UIPs, and making that component more evident and interactive. Getting really clear about the audience. This was a big area that came up in a variety of different ways, from parents and community more broadly. Interesting sort of feedback and observations from teachers and administrators. What the role and function, again, in terms of district leadership and the board, and then sort of that compliance component about CDE. And thinking about really what variations might be necessary or would be supportive in terms of communicating to the different audiences, additionally levels of detail, and how might sort of the simplification work at the district level be leveraged for the school level. So, again, sort of that opportunity for intersection of work that the DAC engages in. Terminology, every industry gets accused of its jargon. And so we wanted to really consider what the terminology was trying to get at, or what levels of precision did it allow, or, if we want to get wordy again, how might it obfuscate some of the ideas that are trying to be conveyed, and then really aligning that language with the intended audiences. And then this bigger idea around engagement. And it's one thing to have the document, but then how does it lead to inquiry or engagement? Also really thinking about paths to learning about the district, its work and priorities, potentially as a route for district volunteers, potentially being leveraged for school engagement, and really trying to think about what the avenues were that could allow for the deeper or broader engagement of the community, and how parents can impact or community can impact the UIP within the context of the goals. So basically, where's the opportunity for the plan to have broader buy-in and support and ownership? Okay, that was a lot, but I felt like it was important to kind of get through. Before we dive into the recommendations, what are you guys' thoughts, reactions, etc., to the theme organization or structure?
Would you mind, Erin, going back to the first slide where it lists all of the themes? Okay, thank you.
Erin, just as a point of clarification, I shared a link in the chat for where the UIP is on the district website. So
awesome.
Just that's there in case there are questions that arise. It's somewhat hard to find because you have to go to the assessment department, then accountability, and then but anyway, just
that's super helpful. That's great. Thank you. And I'm going to grab that right now, because that's the one challenge of Zoom is you can't go back to it.
Yeah, and that might need to, I think on your access slide, it said that it wasn't on the district website. Yeah, so
we couldn't find it. We searched and we literally couldn't find it.
it's a bit of a maze. So,
and to be fair, there was some other folks put in effort, so it was one of those where it's well, this is a problem if we can't even find it. So yeah, so I will correct that and tidy up that language as well, Dave.
Sure. Yeah, no, I just wanted to, share that, and, so it's there. It is a little bit of a challenge. Like when you go into the search bar and say unified improvement plan, it doesn't pop anything up, and it just, I don't know how the search engine works, what have you, but anyway.
Yep. And so again, I'll reword that. But again, I think it raises this question of like, all right, so it's difficult to find, like people aren't looking for it. It's clearly not getting the most hits. But again, I think that also gets at this larger issue of great. And then you get it, and then what?
Yeah, I think that's really valid, Erin, because if people who are this involved with, the district can't find it, then it's definitely going to be a problem for people who just hear about it and decide, oh, I want to see what it is. They're never going to find it.
Yeah. Well, and again, so again, sorry, I'm going to stop talking, but that's sort of the whole point, right? Like,
I think generally these themes seem to be spot on in terms of accessing the UIP and really thinking about who is meant to access, and do we need to adjust things so that more people can. I'm curious to hear the recommendations, and I'm kind of curious what direction that's going in, because that was kind of more of my thinking was, okay, and perhaps just because of being on this committee, these things seem like the and
right, the well duh.
Exactly. But so yeah, I'm curious about the recommendations, sort of like, and so then what comes next? Yeah.
We'll keep you in suspense for just a smidge longer. Vanessa, I appreciate the comments. Thank you. And Michelle, I realize you are driving, so it's really hard probably to see the visuals. But I think the other piece, so a couple of things, and you guys can tell me if this kind of hits the mark or not. Part of what we were trying to do is like, it's not like, well, we spent like 40 hours and here's your one slide of recommendations. So some of this was like, how do we kind of unpack some of the conversations, and like, where did the dialogue go? And why was this so hard, right? Because I think, and actually, I will get ready. Any other theme feedback or structure feedback? Okay, you guys are great. I will dive into the recommendations, because I think this is, again, Laura, sort of your point. Great, now what? I think we're really trying to honor the work and the perspectives that people put in. And, it could be sort of simply interpreted as like, okay, great, make a template, go. Like, all right, well, we can do that. But really wanted to honor that intent of the board charge around how do we think about this UIP as a real lever for engaging parents and community. And if we just get to that, like, okay, great, well, here's your widget, is it really going to promote the intent that was really kind of driving the charge? And so that was something, again, we wanted to be really thoughtful about presenting. And so what we are recommending is that there is a prioritization of themes. And in initiatives and work, there are some ideas, and this is an area where I would really appreciate the feedback from you guys today, is there are some things we saw as a little bit more of quick wins related to potentially access and delivery, which could be focused on in a parallel fashion as we're tackling that much larger process component for the 21-22 school year. So we wanted to think about some things we could probably knock out a little bit more quickly, and then really fold that simplification process into the UIP work of the DAC over the course of this year, focusing on those 3 prioritized themes. And given probably more the scale that that process work was going to take, we wanted to emphasize that, but recognize there were maybe some prioritized components underneath that that we might be able to address a little bit more quickly.
So I just want to make sure that I'm following that the access piece is sort of a quick win because we could potentially work to like make it so you can find it on the website, right? Like, okay, tackle that problem. And then the delivery piece.
The delivery, yeah. So like one of the recommendations that came from our small group conversation was, you know, maybe doing some video narration and doing like some further explanation and overviews, a little bit of like supporting materials. And I'm going to go back to the delivery, providing some links to like, here's some, if you want to learn more, like here's some things, some supporting things. This gets a little bit more into sort of the template-y component, but really thinking that there are some components. Clearly, we're not solving the whole thing, but there were some components that we might be able to tackle a little bit more quickly as we're resolving the larger process components. So with that, let's see, Laura, Stephanie, were you on the UIP committee as well? And what about Stephanie? Stephanie Ade. Actually, but were both of you on the UIP committee? Oh, well, that makes it easy.
UIP's representing strong tonight.
The Stephanies and the UIP, thank goodness. So I guess I'm just curious, given, you know, where your work has been with that committee, how does this feel? Like, so the themes resonated, which is great, but in terms of the recommendation for advancing the work, how does that feel?
I like it. Obviously, it starts with access and, you know, someone being able to locate it and having the opportunity to do that in an easy way. And then the second piece about delivery is interesting. I just would be curious to see, I guess, the how that would all actually play out. Are we talking just the district UIP? Are we building something so that parents can refer to both? Are they things that are going to live both at the district level webpage and our school? And just making sure we're communicating to staff that's doing that work so that we then can really work with our families before that's, you know, published and put out there. So that it'll be interesting. And then the process piece.
I was gonna say, Stephanie, always appreciate avoiding the setup, right? Like, hey, look what we did for you.
Yeah. Yeah, all again, part of a process.
Okay.
Because some of those things that's happened in the past where something will appear suddenly on our webpage or in Infinite Campus that we weren't aware was going to be out there in public, and just being able to communicate with a team, especially with our own SACs or with our own ILTs that are doing this work. be helpful.
Yes, avoid the setup. Duly noted.
This is Vanessa. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
I'm doing Zoom on my phone, which isn't like totally familiar to me, but I guess I was thinking as you were showing this stuff that it seems to me like there could be a lot of the work that would serve multiple purposes, as far as what you were talking about, delivery, and maybe like the videos and explaining things, and like that once it's kind of built, it could work for the SACs and just the person that goes to the district website, as far as what is the UIP, how does that matter to me, you know. And I saw that you had a piece in there about how people can sort of interact and ask questions along the way. It seems like a lot of it could be built for very robust and different sort of types of engagement.
I'm making notes, Vanessa. I know you can't probably hear me, but I want to make sure to write all this down without reinforcements tonight.
I can hear you. Yeah. I mean, it seems like that you've set up such a great framework that, you know, putting the pieces onto the bones. I mean, it'll be a lot of work. I'm not going to say like it's simple, but I think that it will be easy to say, yes, we addressed this, and just continuing to ask the question, like, how can this serve multiple audiences or asks?
Great. Thank you. So opinion question real quickly. I'll be honest, I think we fiddled a little bit with the prioritization of themes. I feel a little bit like we want to convey that the process is the really important thing in terms of the priority of work. But we think that these other things we can kind of, again, get those sort of short, quick wins in those spaces. Do you feel like either the way that this is presented on the slide or the order conveys that idea? I'm a little concerned about that. That we don't just want to like take a few quick hacks and call it good, essentially. I don't know if I'm conveying my concern appropriately.
I hear what you're saying, and maybe it's not necessarily a prioritization of the themes, because sometimes I think that means like, well, this is our first like, I get what you're saying. Like, it makes it sound like the access is more important than the process, when the process is more important than the access. So maybe it's more like steps to address all of the themes, and step one is, hey, we can get access to this thing, right? Like, we can work on making it so when you go to the website, you can actually find it. And hey, we can also fairly quickly work on how that information is delivered. But that third step is really going to be to work through the process, and that's more involved. I don't know if that helps solve that conflict.
Is this any better? Like, and again, I'm gosh, we need some graphics help on this committee. I don't know if there's any other feedback or recommendations about how to convey that. Oh, there's Michelle. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna muck a bit more with this before the presentation next Wednesday, a week from today. Any other concerns, feedback, recommendations you guys would have about sharing this with the board in terms of our deliverable for the year, for our, or what, 7 months?
Aaron, I was just going to share, I don't know that it's a concern. At the beginning, you mentioned that there were 6 themes identified as you know, the process was discussed. And when we get down to this section, really there are only 3.
So that was the prioritization part. That was the
Right.
prioritization.
Sure. So, and I don't know if then there's just, as you're presenting this or whoever's presenting this, it may be that notice there were 3 themes that we didn't even really get to at this time. You know what I'm saying? Just, and we feel like the most important is the process, but we know that's going to require ongoing work. The 2 we feel like we can address more quickly are those 2 that are there. And then those other 3, audience, terminology, engagement, are going to be ongoing themes we would continue to look at throughout the years. I'm just putting that out there for the group to think about or whatever. I'm just pointing it out. And I don't know, I sometimes, having worked with the board a number of times,
What happened to those priorities? Where'd those themes go?
Yeah, they just might raise that issue. I don't know.
That's great. Dave, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and to be honest, it would mirror the UIPs, because we have, you know, the things that are going to happen now, and then they can go out for years, but they're all still listed. And yeah, I think it would be a good idea to mention all 6 in something.
Yeah, and when I think about those 3 others, they really are part of all of the of that work. So it's like they can really, you can put them alongside process and access and delivery, because we'll be thinking about all of those as we do that work.
Yep. Okay. What if I had to put like future work?
Well, it's more of they'll be addressed as we go through the work of the access, delivery, and process.
Something like that. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. Okay. Well, I really appreciate one, you guys all being here tonight. I know we are like in the final push for this. Let's see. That's really pretty much it for tonight. A quick recruitment update. We are moving forward with recruiting members, and you guys might have even seen an email go out today from Linda on the committees. So that is getting up and moving. We have been working with the district in terms of updating the online application. So that's getting updated. Jack is going to be speaking to the 5-Star Leadership Academy on the 25th. So hopefully we'll be getting some more folks. And also have really kind of been trying to think about what sort of how to frame onboarding and commitment and sort of our continuing development work. Also, we were able to speak with Priscilla about sort of the DAC, district staff sort of representatives, and working to identify folks that can fill some of those different roles. But I think also recommendations. So again, if you have similarly minded folks, or I think, Laura, we use the term, special kind of people that like to come to DAC meetings and think it's, fun or interesting. If you guys have recommendations for folks that you think might fit the bill, we definitely want this to be a positive and beneficial experience for folks. So more to come on that. And then we do have our last meeting planned for the 25th, and it is not going to just be a fluff meeting. And especially with as many UIP committee folks here, we're going to start diving into some high level UIP work, very high level. I'm just going to say that we're trying to embrace our new model. And so Dave will be leading us through some of the UIP work because of the timeline shift and having that UIP due to CDE on the 15th of October. So that really kind of impacts that timeline shift. So I think that's pretty much it for tonight, you guys. Anything else for the good of the order? I again just really appreciate you all. It's such a gorgeous day outside, I have to say. I really am struggling being here in my basement, but I know I can't take my laptop outside. I won't be able to see a darn thing. So I hope you guys are all able to go outside and enjoy the sunshine. Jessica and Michelle, I'm curious, can you stay on for just a second? I had a quick question for you about our SAC report, or our SAC presentation that I just wanted to ask you about.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Erin. You guys did a lot of really good work. That was great.
Thank you. Yes, you guys, this year, oof, it's a doozy. But again, this has definitely been a shining bright spot of the year. So thank you all. And again, really appreciate it, and hope to see you in 2 weeks.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Good
See you,
night.
everybody.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Ooh,